freedom,
family,
world unity.
All these things and more will be discussed on this podcast.
Real stories, real people, real debates. On this podcast, we like to express our freedoms and talk about anything and everything goes.
Like freedom, family is important to us, and anybody that is listening, watching, or coming on the show as a guest star are all considered part of the greatest family to ever bless the solar system, the human race. No matter who you are, where you come from, you will always have a voice here on this podcast.
We like to flex our First Amendment, where all speeches and opinions are accepted for the right of freedom of speech. We have a saying we like to live by. Live life with eyes wide open. Being open-minded leads to true understanding of the world as it really is. Please, come, join us, and enjoy this experience as we embark on this journey of truth as we dismantle the subjective truth. I'm your host, Nick.
And I'm your co-host, Victoria.
And you're experiencing high consciousness.
Disclaimer. Any and all information on topics presented are to the best of all who is present in each episode's knowledge. The goal of this podcast is to bring people together and set the example we all wish to see in our everyday lives. Whether it's home life, education, politics, history, business, etc. Any and all subjects can and will be talked and peacefully debated about on this podcast. On debate episodes, there will be a set rules of debate that hosts and guests alike must follow. We ask that you, the audience, like we ask of our guests, in the comments to please try to keep the language as clean as possible. We are a podcast for entertainment as well as educational purposes. Here, we are all equal no matter what race, age, or gender. Thank you, and enjoy the show.
Hi, y'all.
And welcome back
To another episode of
High Consciousness.
I'm your host, Nick.
I'm your co-host, Victoria.
And I'm your editor, Frankie.
Oh,
And editor
Frankie
Frankie over there who decided to pipe up today.
Yeah.
And be like, yo, I'm here.
just so what you didn't know. Hiya. Woo.
But anywhoosy whatsies, welcome back to another episode today. And today we're going to be going over topics of why is the UN in the United States, what is the Bicameral Congress, and what is the Electoral College.
Ooh. I guarantee one of y'all already know one of those three.
So, let's go ahead and get into it. Now, this is a topic that, I've kind of really been waiting to get into.
Really? Why is that?
Well, because it kind of has a little to do with, kind of what's going on today.
Oh, yeah.
Because, the United Nations and the whole, things that are going on around the world here recently.
The things?
So,
things.
the UN and the USA, I would have never thought that the United Nations was in the United States. And the fact that it is, I don't know why, but that doesn't sit with me very well. So
little did you know, we're going to find out why the UN is in the United States.
yes. So
Here we go.
Technically, it's not. Oh.
I see. Told you. It's not.
Well, the title was very misleading now, wasn't it, folks?
Well, technically, it's not.
Although the United Nations headquarters occupies 18 acres in New York City.
Yeah.
Then how are you going to start off? But,
Make it make sense, Frank.
Make it make sense.
Because, that's, okay, from what I understand, in New York, there are zones, and it's zoned as in government, or just neutral territory.
Neutral zones?
Yeah.
We have neutral zones in the United States.
That's news to me.
That's a new one.
There's a specific word. We're probably going to get to it.
No, you're probably right. It's probably called neutral zones.
Well, we're about to find out. We're about to find out because it's really...
Yeah, let's keep reading and find out. So, by international agreement, that a parcel of land is treated as though it's not part of the United States. Federal, state, and local authorities cannot enter the property without permission of the UN Secretary General.
Yeah.
So, you gotta have a security pass pretty much.
Neutral.
And Secretary General has to be cool with you. They gotta approve you into it. Okay, so yes, you are right. It is a neutral zone. That's basically, in a nutshell, what that said. It's a neutral zone in New York City.
I can't believe I remembered that.
Yeah, good job,
Now,
Frankie. So the United Nations is cited in the United States because the American government played an enormous role in conceiving, promoting, and bankrolling this international organization.
Mm-hmm.
The term United Nations was first conceived by President FDR, Franklin D. Roosevelt, and trotted out in 1942 when a group of countries agreed that they would fight the aggressors of World War II. In the spring of 1945, before the war had even ended, 50 nations signed a charter to promote world peace. Later that year, when the war was over, the UN seemed like a good idea, for all nations knew they could not risk another global conflict. So, in a way, this was, to band together and stop World War II, but also to work together to avoid World War III ever happening, or any other world war in that matter.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I got from that. Not surprisingly, it was the victors of World War II, of course, the United States, Britain, France, and the Soviet Union, and the Republic of China who became the main players in the creation of the United Nations. In 1945, when the first UN meetings were conducted, Europe was still in a state of devastation. Therefore, situating the headquarters in the United States may have seemed like a smart decision. Huh. Well, I mean...
Our founding fathers in the UN was no other than China and Russia. And United States and Britain. Well, godly, doesn't that sound quite consequentially coincidental?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Coincidence? I think not! Like that little guy from
The Incredibles, the
when
teacher.
he's talking about Dash.
See? He's right there!
See, it's right now! It's in the black and white! And anyway. Moving along. So, yeah. Well, I guess to put a little historical fact in there, for people that don't know, Europe was kind of like literally...
And there's devastation.
During that time.
Big war zone.
They were a war zone. So,
no better than the Middle East. Hate to say it like that.
Yeah, it was no better than the Middle East today. So, I guess at the time where the United States was like not part of all that war zone that was over there on the other side of the world, it would have made sense to have this building all the way across the seas to protect it and keep it there.
Mm-hmm.
The UK, France, and the Netherlands voted against the decision, but the United States controlled the vote by virtue of its clout and willingness to bankroll the fledgling organization. To this day, the United States continues to exert strong veto power over UN actions and budgets. Canada was considered briefly, as were other cities throughout the United States. The matter was settled when the Rockefeller family bought land in uptown Manhattan for $8.5 million and donated it to the UN. An international committee of architects designed the ultra-modern complex. For the record, other significant UN buildings are located all over the world, and from time to time there's talk of moving the headquarters out of New York. But nothing's come of it yet.
They spent a lot of money on that building.
So
the Freedom Tower.
That's...
Is it really the Freedom Tower when it comes with the Rockefellers, though?
And the fact that the United States alone has most of the veto power because we are the ones that A, funded the darn thing, and B,
had the clout and the willingness to do the darn thing. And now we fast forward to today.
That's a pretty big rabbit hole.
Well, it gets more sus when the four founding fathers were no other than the United States, Britain, and then not Ukraine,
Well, Ukraine wasn't even a thing.
Well, no. But I'm saying, like in general, though, it's not all these other. It's not Poland. It's not Sweden. It's not all these other India. It's not none of these. It's legitimately
China, Russia, Ukraine, the UK,
and
the United States.
Because they're the superpowers.
They were. They
were. They
still
were the Allied powers in the day.
The Allied power, yeah.
Yeah, they were the Allies back in the day. Against,
China, the Soviet Union, and the United States.
and Britain. We're all big, one happy family under the
So
UN.
just to go through that, they were the main players. So yeah, they were the founding fathers. The U.S., Britain, France, the Soviet Union, and the Republic of China. So that was before China turned into
No.
no.
Hey, remember our history lesson we learned about China and what they were
But
going
wasn't
Civil
that-
War. Civil War was going on before World War II, and then they all converged together, and then we helped the communist Chinese because they because the nationalists didn't want to put their best fighter in the front line because of the Civil War. So we helped them out. So don't you think that those leaders of the other party had the heads of tables other than the nationalists?
Well, okay, let's go into the Matrix real quick, just so that we have our facts right. Number one, so 1945. Yeah, 1945.
Mm-hmm.
The term United Nations was first conceived when it was trotted out in 1942. In the spring of 1945, they signed the charter. Okay, so I guess 1942.
Well, you gonna look up the Chinese Civil War?
Okay, you know what? Look up the Chinese Civil War. Yeah, that's what I want. The Chinese Civil War.
CIVIL.
Oh,
It's right there. It was right there. CIVI.
Not
It's right there.
Not silver. C.
oh, I hate this keyboard.
I know, you try to press C and it presses S, you push S and it presses A instead.
Yeah.
Like, it's so touchy. So, who were the two powers there in play?
Communist insurrection, 1912 to 1937.
So, there's the nationalists and the communists. Okay, so the Republic... What was the Republic of China? So, I guess let's ask that question.
The Republic of China
Would be the two banding together, maybe?
No, the Republic of China is the Chinese party. It's the Communist Party.
The Chinese Civil War, 45 to 49, was a military struggle waged between the nationalists under the blah 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 and the communists under Mao Zedong. Okay, under Chiang Kai-shek and the communists under Mao Zedong. The conflict led to the establishment of the People's Republic of China. Okay, so yeah, you're right, babe. The communist Chinese party
It's the
was
People's
the
Republic.
People's Republic of China at that time when the United Nations was formed. Okay, so yeah, that tracks historically. So there we go. We kind of went a little kind of around our butts to get to our elbow, but hey,
No, I was on the head. I hit the nail on the head.
you hit the nail on the head. We just had to double check the facts because that's what we do around here. But anywho's, so what is the Electoral College? I'll have Nick tell you.
Oh, and you know what is the Electoral College?
What?
It's something that goes in effect every 4 years during an American election cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Every 4 years, when Americans vote for a president, they participate in a popular or people-based election. Yet, according to the U.S. Constitution, the president is not elected by popular vote. That responsibility falls to the members of the mysterious Electoral College. You probably learned about this entity in 10th grade social studies class, but if you're like most people, you've forgotten what it actually does.
Yep, sure have.
Now here we go. When the farmers of the Constitution were hammering out the details in the summer of 1787, they worried that ordinary people would lack the intelligence and know-how to properly elect a president. This fear wasn't as condescending as it seemed. Remember, the new nation was big. It took weeks and sometimes months for news to travel. This was the time before internet, cars. This was buggy and human feet.
Oh yeah, horse and buggy, the horse mail.
Yeah, legitimately horse
mail.
Yeah,
Sears catalog.
yeah, seriously. So it legitimately took weeks to months for any kind of new news to hit across.
The Cavaliers catalog.
Mm-hmm. The farmers didn't think it was possible for voters, even if they were educated.
Wait, hold on. Wasn't it called? Just hit me.
It
It was called the Pony Express.
Yes, the Pony Express. Yes.
Yeah.
Anywho, the farmers didn't think it was possible for voters, even if they were educated, to know everything necessary about all the candidates. In a vast governmental system of checks and balances, the Electoral College seemed like a good way to guard against an uninformed decision by the people. The system established in Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution. What?
You know what? That feels like the Electoral College was almost like created almost out of kind of like a necessity, because at the time, like we said, it was just Pony Express, so word got out by mouth and pony for the most part, but still that feels like it's undermining the American people and their choice of person that they want to put in office in a way.
So you would want Hillary Clinton to run the country then, or Al Gore running the country? If that's what needless to say by popular vote?
I mean,
I'm just saying. Where would we be at with those two presidential terms? Where would we be?
If the Electoral College is not determined by the vote of the people, then and is determined by somebody else that is a elected or unelected bureaucrat of that college in every state, then doesn't that feel like it kind of and it's because they want to protect against the uninformed voter, which just kind of like in a way sounds like the ignorant voter that doesn't watch the news, that doesn't pay attention to this or that. I mean, what?
The alphabet mafia.
Or the alphabet mafia, yeah. I mean, but I don't know. It's just, that's a sticky situation.
There's also a population situation too. The Electoral College goes into population too. States that have more population have more electoral colleges.
They have more votes for the electoral. They have more votes for the Electoral College. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Democrats might have a valid point on the argument of the Electoral College in a way. I just might agree with them on some part of it. But like we say in the very beginning, this is a podcast that is, to the best of everybody's knowledge. So, this is just right off the top of my head. But, and it's my opinion, which we are all free to share our opinions here.
Yes.
Heard it here, folks.
But here's the thing, though, right? How often has the Electoral College and the majority of the vote been off, and how slightly been off?
Well, I mean, the beautiful examples that you put out there,
two elections out of
2 elections that we know within our lifetime, at least.
Well, okay. Well, let's.
So that's at least a fair ball game to put it
within. Let's go into Matrix and find out.
So I mean, what I'm saying is, for example, you had the people that had voted for Al Gore. He was the popular vote, but the Electoral College was the one that voted Bush in.
Look up electoral. How many times has the president won the election without winning the majority vote? Got
Whoops.
how?
Hey, you saw it here, folks. I pressed many moons button.
Many moons buttons, huh?
Many moons buttons.
Oh, yeah. How many times?
Wait, what was that for? How many children? What?
How many times has the president
Has Biden fallen?
That's terrible. That's terrible. That's not us.
That is at the top.
We don't look that up.
We don't
at
look
all.
that up.
It's just what people mostly
Let's see,
search for.
No, really, because usually, okay, so
Okay,
history.
guys,
will show-
let's get back on top.
Okay.
Let's get on topic.
How many times has the president?
Won the election?
Oh god.
WON, dog.
Whoop.
I know, 1 and 1.
Yeah.
Without winning the popular vote.
Gotta be kidding me.
Oh no.
Oh no. The computer's freaking out on Frankie.
It said every day we're winning, no matter what. Yeah.
No, it's already there, hun.
Or where?
You
You just keep going over.
Oh.
Oh, pee-pee.
Pee-pee.
Oh, pee-pee.
I'll be back.
Popular vote. Third, 12.
What does that say?
Oh, 1960.
5 presidents. 5.
So 5.
5. Legitly 5 out of 47. So 42.
John Quincy Adams, Rutherford B. Hayes, Benjamin Harrison, Donald Trump, and George Bush. I bet is the next one.
What should I click on?
The History Channel.
The history
Channel.
one down there.
Yep.
Oh,
Right
okay.
there.
5 presidents who lost the popular vote.
Yep, that one right there.
Oh, come on.
Agreed.
Just hit agree.
Jesus.
All these frickin' cookies.
You
I
don't-
don't want your cookies.
You don't got no
I only
sweet
want
cookies.
cookies from the Girl Scouts.
Ooh, Thin Mints.
Dude, those Thin Mints are the bomb.
All
And
right.
the lemon ones.
Collectively, here's how that can happen. The U.S. president art elected by popular vote. Instead, Article 2, Section 1. We literally just read it in the little book.
But we're trying to figure out which president.
John Quincy Adams, 1824 was the first one.
Rutherford B. Hayes, 1876 was
That was
next.
the second one. Then we go down to the third. Benjamin Harris.
Benjamin Harrison, 1888. Year that Mepin was born.
And you guessed right, G.W.
G.W. Bush. And
D.
Donald J. Trump. The Don.
All right, that was it.
So yeah, you were right, babe. Was George Bush?
So yeah, those two were not the only ones that we knew of so far. That was just within our own lifetime. Everything else was like way back in the past.
Yeah, but so that should tell you right there. You know, it's not that often that it has happened.
Well, no, it doesn't happen that often, but still.
And that's my case. It's like if it has happened a lot, you know what I'm saying? A lot of times, and yeah, that's a plausible case. But only 5 times out of 47.
Yeah,
That's a low-
that's a pretty low
47.
number.
That's a low probability of
So-
it actually not matching together. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
especially with the last two, like Donald Trump and George W. Bush. You know, especially with the high information of disinformation. You gotta realize, Gore and Bush was 2000. The 2000s, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Bush was president in 2001
So-
to 9/11.
So yeah,
Yeah, 2000.
So that was like legitimately the futile, like baby stages of the internet. So a lot of disinformation, that could be this true or not true.
I mean, even Tucker Carlson admitted, around that time there was a lot of lies in the media and disinformation that, they spoke as, oh, this is true, but really it wasn't, and that he was part of the problem, and that he too lied to us, and he was sorry for it, but, so, you're right. There was the baby stages of disinformation and the internet at the same time, and the legacy media.
Then Donald Trump and the Hillary Clinton incident with the whole Russia stuff,
And the Clinton emails, too, as well.
So, like, that right there was a good case in point of people with low information, the Electoral College would take over. So, I mean, I hate to say it like that, but the cases that you do have where the Electoral College would have made it look like, it was rigged. I'm gonna put quotations and rigged, and it didn't match popular vote. Well, that was back when there was a lot of disinformation, or a lot of stuff was going on, like George W. Bush and Gore, baby stages of the internet type deal. Anything you saw on that screen looked real. You didn't know whether it was fake or not back in the early 2000s.
Yeah, which is why now everybody and their mama has, the word of advice that they give to us all, especially when we were growing up. Don't believe everything you see and hear on the internet.
And then on 2016, both sides had dirt on both each other. One was fake and one was real. But how would you know and couldn't tell the difference? So you see where I say I wouldn't get rid of the Electoral College, because if we didn't and actually went with the popular vote, we would actually be more in jeopardize of being, that's my opinion.
Really, a nutshell in a bag of
chips.
Yeah.
It's a can of worms, a bag of chips in a nutshell, pretty much.
But anyway.
So, that's a messy conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But anyway, let me continue with the Electoral College. The system established in Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution has evolved slightly over the years. Today, there are 538 electoral votes distributed among the 50 states in the District of Columbia. In 48 states, whoever wins the popular vote gets all of the state's electoral votes. Maine and Nebraska have slightly different rules. The process for choosing electoral varies. The process for choosing electors varies. The electors can be political parties, stalwarts, who are nominated to a state's ballot as a reward for their work. They are elected by voters on election day and then met in the state's capital in December of a presidential election year to officially cast their votes. Technically, electors can go off script and vote for a candidate other than the one they pledged to vote for, but that hardly ever happens. If you think the Electoral College sounds strange, join the club. Many critiques have been leveled at the system in the last 220 plus years. At least 4 times in history, disputes over the electoral vote have led to a messy presidential election.
Yep, and at the time, that was 4. Now, because this book was written 2012, that's when it was printed, so, our 5th one did not exist quite yet, so now we have 5.
Mm-hmm.
And even on that, on the 5th one with Trump and Hillary, a lot of people say that, oh, Trump stole the election from her, blah, 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 blah. That kind of thing because of the Electoral College.
The most recent, the Bush-Gore election of 2000. Gore won the popular vote by about 500 votes. But the race was so tight in Florida that the 2 candidates ended up duking it out over the state's electoral votes all the way to the Supreme Court. Regardless of such problems, it's unlikely the Electoral College will go away anytime soon. You need a 2/3 votes of Congress and 3/4 ratifications by the states to pass a constitutional amendment. That's tough to do. Without huge national consensus, apparently as much as Americans love complaining about the Electoral College, they're like adding up to 270 on election night, even more.
Well,
Yeah, so y'all, here's the long story short. You want to get a little bit of Electoral College? Okay, you can. But here's 2 stages for you. Stage 1. Get 2/3 of Congress. That means you gotta get 2/3 of the Senate and 2/3 of the House of Representatives to get the vote. And then that's
not even all. You got to go through one more.
And you can say that's clockwork, because it paid politicians and everything else, lobbyists, whatever. But the real problem is that you need a whole 3/4 majority vote in the entire country to get it passed as for amendment. The entire country. That means every electee, the American people will have to vote on it.
Dang.
And it has to be majority, like 75% of the country has to agree on it.
So
And there's very few things us Americans agree at 75% on.
So I guess that's the reason for the Electoral College. It takes out the messiness of all that. Because if we were to do that, it would take months or a year to be able to elect a president.
Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah. A month, months to a year. That's pretty short.
Yeah.
So there would be a high turnover rate of presidents at that point.
Mm-hmm. So, it would not be a very efficient way to be able to elect our president without the Electoral College.
Yeah.
So, at first, in the beginning there, I was like, I see where it can kind of seem like it's undermining, just with the phrasing right out the get-go. But then once you get into the nitty-gritty of it, it was like, oh, okay. Oh, now, okay. My argument may not be very valid about trying to get rid of it.
Because at the end of the day, it's all about popularity. It's all about the electoral colleges. Which states that has more population and more swing states. That's why North Carolina is considered a swing state and everything as a battleground state, because we're purple and we're worth 18 votes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
So you can get all the big Democratic states and cities like that,
like New York,
California, Boston, like places like that have like a lot of electoral colleges, but it all just calculates up.
Yeah, that it does. And well, on to our third topic, which is not nearly going to be as long as the last one. It's just one little page. So, what is the Bicameral Congress? Or what's a bicameral Congress? Okay.
What is it?
So, bicameral simply just means 2 houses and refers to the Senate and the House of Representatives. During the Constitutional Convention of 1787, the framers of the Constitution debated about how the large and small states would be best represented in Congress. Ultimately, they arrived at the Great Compromise. A state's population would determine how many representatives it would have in the House of Representatives.
Mm-hmm.
And all states would have the same number of senators, 2. Representatives are elected for a 2-year term, which is why they always seem to be in perpetual re-election mode. By contrast, the members of the more prestigious Senate are elected for 6-year terms. Okay. Well, that's all it for our fun facts for today. We hope you liked this episode, and we hope you liked the topics. Leave us a like and hit that subscribe button because it helps push us through the algorithm. And don't forget to share with your family and friends if you find that they would find this information useful. And with that being said, we're going to leave you with our motto.
Live life
with eyes
wide open.
And we'll see you on the next one.